Hey everyone. So in this video, I'm going to go through two arrangements I've done of Elizabeth Cotton's Freight Train, kind of an easier one and a harder one. This tune is a lot of fun. I like it a lot. The tabs will be in the video. We'll go line by line through them. But if you want a copy of a PDF of the tabs or a PDF of a lead sheet, you can get that through my Patreon if you patronize me. I'll leave a link for that below. But without further ado, let me play through the tune and then we'll talk about it. Okay, a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Freight train, run so fast. Freight train, run so fast. Please don't say which route I'm on. They won't know which train I'm on. When I'm dead and in my grave, no more good times here I crave. Place the stones at my head and my feet and just tell them I've gone to sleep. Alright, so that's Elizabeth Cotton's Freight Train. Now, before we talk about the chords, before we talk about anything else, we're going to talk about the picking. The picking's a big thing. Now, I didn't even put the picking pattern, I didn't write in the fingers in the tab. And the reason is because there's a couple different ways about playing this. Now, the most important thing to understand here is that our thumb is getting our rhythm and our fingers are getting the melody. So let's talk about the thumb. The thumb is just constantly playing quarter notes. Just if you're tapping your foot, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what your thumb's doing. It's just doing this like the entire way through, right? Now, often it's alternating strings, but it's just keeping that pattern going. Now, to play the melody, we're going to use our fingers. Now, Elizabeth Cotton plays it with just her index finger. This is kind of an old style, so you can do that. You're just playing that melody with just your index finger, right? Oops. I don't really recommend this because it's kind of limiting. Generally, people, when they're playing this style nowadays, will use at least 2 fingers, right? So that way you can get 3 notes at a time. Right. Now, if you're used to finger picking and you're used to using your 3rd finger, your ring finger, it's totally fine to use that ring finger to get any note that's on the 1st string. Which is, I kind of switch between these different styles. The other way to talk about that we should mention is you could also do this hybrid picking. So hybrid picking is where you use your thumb instead of your pick, and then these fingers are going to be getting the melody notes, generally just these 2. So you could do that way. What's nice about this is you can just go do some picking stuff, and then you're back to the hybrid picking. So you kind of can mix between picking and doing the hybrid picking. Sorry, that confused me a little bit. Didn't think I could talk and do that. Okay, so that's it there. Now let's just talk quickly about the chords. Oh, actually, before we even do the chords, we'll just talk about the picking pattern. So I'm going to show you 2 picking patterns. So we have this one here. Right, and you could do it again with the index finger. Oops. But I recommend index and middle, right? So I'll actually put the fingers I recommend with this one on. That's a really common pattern, right? Another pattern is this one. You should practice both of them. And you could play those patterns through all of the chords, and you don't have to worry about playing the melody and things like that. But if you're really comfortable with these patterns, you can manipulate them to play the melody. But I recommend if you're just doing the chords, pick one of those patterns or try to switch them up as you go through it. But let's go through the chords here. So we have C for 2 bars, freight train, and I'm just going to do the first pattern. Freight train, then G for 2 bars, run so fast. Then we have G7. Freight train. It's kind of a weird G7. I'll put a tab up there. Then back to C, run so fast. Then we have an E7. And actually, I tend to start off playing just an E. Please don't say, and then I go to E7. Which route I'm on. Then we have an F chord for 2 bars. They won't know which G, then a C. Right? So it's kind of nice to just go through and play the chords, get it really attached to the melodies. Sing the melody. Freight train, run so fast. Freight train, run so fast. Please don't say which route I'm on. They won't know which train I'm on. Or please don't say which train I'm on. They won't know. I don't know. I'm mixing them up. Anywho, there's our chords. Let's kind of start just going bar by bar through the melody and playing it. So, variation 1, first line. Looks like this. I don't think I need to go through that anymore. Watch that my thumb's going. You'll notice that this hammer-on is kind of setting us up for this interesting G chord that we're going to play in the next line. So here's this next line. Right. Then we have back to the C. And this was setting us up to the E. Now, if you're having a hard time with this, make sure you can hear that melody. Be da da do da dee da. That's the important thing. So make sure, if it helps, go through, listen to me play it a bunch of times, and like follow just that melody. The rest of it's not so important. Just the fact that we have the pulsing thumb. Okay. Third line, we're starting on this E7. Right. And notice I put that pinky down to get the open first, and then I put it down to get the melody. Now we go to an F, and the way I'm playing the F here is actually I just hold these 3 notes, and I'm getting my thumb up here. Now, if you're not comfortable playing the thumb one, I recommend you can just play an F chord with any pattern, probably that first pattern, just on that F. But if you want these variations, you're going to need to play it this way and get the thumb. So with the thumb here we go, and the hammer on. And then your ping can come up and get this D note. And often I bend that little D. Right? So let me go through that line one more time. So E. Right? Almost every time I hit that D, I like to give it just a little bit of a bend. Okay, back to the last line here. C. Then we have G. So nothing too tough in this line. I think for some reason that rhythm in the G kind of threw me off, right? When I was first doing it, because it's not really part of the melody. But one thing that I think is really important to this song is this ba ba boo boom bum. I will do that if I'm singing it. When you're singing it, you don't have to worry about playing the melody, but you can play the melody and sing it, which is what I did the first time through. But this bo 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 is really kind of a part of the song. I feel like I would never not play that, because it's so attached to the song that it's almost not the song when you don't do that. So that line is definitely Elizabeth Cotten doing it. Okay, great. Now let's go to the second version. Now the second version is a little bit tougher. There's some interesting stuff going on here. We have to change up picking. It's a fair amount tougher. We have some chord substitutions. So if you're not comfortable with variation 1, don't start variation 2. That said, let's jump into it. Variation 2, first 4 bars. I'll play through it. I hit the last note wrong, but that's okay. So a couple things that I'm doing here. First off, and I do this quite a bit through this, and when I'm playing these tunes, is I like adding in a bass line. So we have the first melody of be ba do da. Oh wait, sorry. Be ba do da da. Plus I'm adding this melody line of boo boo da 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 do. Right. And so just connecting them bass notes. Now this part is actually the one of the notes is wrong on my tab. I'll fix that when I put it up here. But it's just triplets. So all of a sudden we're kind of changing our feel here. So that can be a really tough thing, because a lot of times when you're doing these pattern-based things, you can let your fingers kind of dictate the rhythm for you, right? Boom, chicka, boom, doom, ba, doom. My thumb is always doing those quarter notes, so as long as I'm doing quarter notes with the thumb, everything's okay. Here, all of a sudden, we can't do it because I want this triplet feel. Right? Ba-boo, da-doo, da-doo, ba-doo, da-doo, ba-doo. So to get that, you really have to have it in your head. And that can be really tough if you've never practiced these like quarter note triplets. So one thing that helps is just hearing me play it a couple times and trying to follow along, maybe play along with me. Okay, anyways, moving on. This part's pretty heavily reharmonized. Really, it's kind of almost, it's like inappropriately harmonized. Kind of almost sounds like a little like ragtimey. But basically what I tried to do there is create chords that were moving up with a bass line, and filled in the chords, made them a little more jazzy. So we have the G7 here, the same G7. Then I'm gonna go, oh, let me play through the whole line. Oh, 1 second. Okay, now so these chords, so we have this G7 like this, we had before. Then we have this A7 flat 13. All right, again, this melody, and the melody's going down, and the bass is going up. That's the main thing. Okay, so G7. Then we have this B6 sharp 11. Now, you could do it as a 6 where you have this open string. I tend to actually make it like a B flat major 7 chord here with that major 11. But if you're not using 3 fingers, the way I've written it in the tab, you're only getting 2 notes, so you don't need to have that middle finger down there. And then we have this B flat 7. So I'll put those chord shapes up one more time with those 2 bars. And you'll notice I kind of put the bass note first because that's the one I want, and then it gives me a second to move my first finger down to get that A flat there. And then C. We have this E power chord, so I'm just doing double stops there with the C as a pedal note, leading us into this nice E power chord. E minor pentatonic thing that I'm doing. Right, and then to this F chord. Now, we haven't talked about this, but when you're doing 8th note lines, now all of a sudden I'm getting rid of this whole thumb lead quarter note here. I'm trying to play 8th note lines. Easy to do if you've got the pick in your hand and you're doing hybrid picking, but what do you do if you're don't have a pick in your hand, you're not hybrid picking? The way I tend to do it, and there's kind of 2 ways you would do this, is the one way, the thing that I think is the easiest, is your thumb and index finger are like a pick. Thumb, index, it's like the down, up of a pick. So here I'm going, right, just thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index. So I'll just do that E line again. Then we're in this F chord. That A note belongs to that F chord, so I make sure to get that with my middle finger so I can make this F here. And I do this, this is a kind of common line that you'll do on a 7th chord where you go 5, 6, flat 7. Right, so let me play those 2 bars together. Back to the C. Then here, we did quarter note triplets before. I gotta put them in at least twice or else it feels weird. Just kind of a run up here with the flat 3rd of the C to make it a little bluesier. And this is the exact same. Alright. And that's essentially the whole thing. I hope you learned a fair amount from it. Yeah, that variation too, I kind of forgot. There's a lot of complicated stuff in there. But this tune's a lot of fun. So last thing I'll do is I'm just going to play through the 2 variations. and at a slower tempo, just so you can kind of hear it and play along. But good luck with this. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have. Okay, here we go. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Enjoy!